I died on a rainy night in Norfolk, Virginia, with a .45 caliber round punching through my chest like divine judgment for sins I didn't commit. The last thing I saw was Admiral Hargrove's cold blue eyes, the man who'd pinned medals on my uniform while plotting to bury me 6 feet under for what I'd uncovered. Betrayal tastes like salt water and gunpowder, and as my blood pooled on the pier, I whispered a curse that echoed into the void. "You son of a bitch, I'll make you pay." But death isn't the end when you've got unfinished business. I woke up choking on the stale air of my berthing compartment aboard the USS Independence 3 years earlier, my heart hammering like a jackhammer against my ribs. The date on my phone read June 15th, 2022, 6 months before I'd first stumbled onto that godforsaken code that would unravel everything. It hit me like a rogue wave. This wasn't a dream. I'd been given a do-over, a shot at rewriting the script where I ended up as chum in the Atlantic. Lillian Hayes, E3 tech specialist, lowest on the totem pole in the comms division, had clawed her way back from the grave. And this time, I wasn't playing nice. Hargrove and his web of snakes were going down, even if it meant dragging the whole damn Navy through the mud with them. The hum of the ship's ventilation system was the first thing that grounded me, that mechanical drone I'd cursed 1,000 times during mid-watches. I bolted upright in my rack, sweat soaking my PT shorts, my hands instinctively patting down my body. Whole, unscarred, the ghost of that bullet wound nothing but a phantom ache. Around me, the berthing was a symphony of snores and farts from my shipmates. Petty Officer Ramirez in the rack below, muttering in Spanish about his abuela's tamales. Ensign Patel across the way, her tablet glowing with some K-drama she'd binge-watched last deployment. I swung my legs over the edge, bare feet hitting the cold steel deck, and grabbed my phone from the shelf. 0430 hours. The Independence was steaming out of San Diego, bound for the Western Pacific, a routine ops that would, in my old timeline, turn into a nightmare. I remembered it all too vividly. The endless drills, the salt-crusted chow hall fights, and then, buried in a routine diagnostic of a satellite uplink, that anomaly. A snippet of code, elegant and insidious, hidden in the firmware like a virus waiting to bloom. But not this time. This time, I was the virus. I dressed in the dim red glow of the nightlights, coveralls, boots laced tight, and slipped out before reveille. The passageway smelled of diesel and desperation, the kind that clings to every sailor who's ever questioned why they signed that contract. Up on the 03 level, the comm shop was a ghost town at this hour, just the faint buzz of servers in the SCF. I badged in, my heart a drum solo, and fired up the terminal I'd use 100 times without a second thought. "Hayes, what the hell are you doing up here?" The voice made me freeze, fingers hovering over the keys. It was Chief Kowalski, my direct supervisor, lumbering in with his coffee mug that said, "World's okayest chief." In the old life, he'd been the one to pat me on the back when I flagged the code, told me I was onto something big. Turned out, big meant a bullet with my name on it, courtesy of Hargrove's cleanup crew. "Just running a pre-watch diagnostic, Chief," I said, forcing a yawn, the words tasting like lies dipped in syrup. "Couldn't sleep. Figured I'd get ahead." He grunted, eyeing me like I was a puzzle he didn't care to solve. Kowalski wasn't the sharpest tool, but he was loyal to the chain of command anyway. "Don't burn out before we hit Hawaii, Hayes. Hargrove's gonna be aboard for the Admiral's inspection in a week. Brass means no fuck-ups." Hargrove. The name landed like a gut punch. 4-star Admiral Elias Hargrove, the golden boy of Pacific Fleet, with his Ivy League smile and whispers of a Senate-run post-retirement. In my first life, he charmed the whole ship during that visit, shaking hands, cracking jokes about his glory days in the Gulf. I'd been starstruck, even asked for a photo. What a joke. The man was a trader, selling U.S. cyber secrets to the highest bidder, China, Russia, whoever flashed the cash. That code I'd found? It was the key to it all, a backdoor into our encrypted comms that let him siphon data like a digital vampire. I nodded at Kowalski, logging in with my credentials. "No worries, Chief. I'm solid." He shuffled out, and I dove in. Not the full breach, not yet. Baby steps. I pulled up the firmware logs from the last update, scanning for precursors. There it was, innocuous as a post-it note, a routine patch from Navcia, time-stamped 2 weeks prior. But I knew better now. That patch carried the seed, planted by Hargrove's inside man. Who? That was the question that had haunted my dying breaths. The ship lurched gently as we cut through the swells, and I leaned back, mind racing. Revenge wasn't a straight shot. It was a minefield. One wrong move, and I'd end up floating face down again. But I had advantages this time. Foreknowledge and a rage that burned hotter than a reactor core. First order. Build an arsenal. Allies, evidence, alibis. By 0600, I had a snapshot of the anomalous lines, encrypted on a thumb drive I'd stashed in my locker. Breakfast in the galley was the usual chaos. Soggy eggs, coffee that could strip paint, and I spotted my first recruit, Seaman Torres, the quiet cryptology nerd from Texas who'd covered for me once during a hailstorm of paperwork. In the old timeline, he'd been my sounding board after the discovery, the one who'd urged me to go to the IG. "Don't let the bastards grind you down, Lil," he'd said. Then he'd vanished after my murder, reassigned to some black site in Nevada. Hargrove's reach. I slid into the seat across from him, tray clattering. "Torres, you look like shit. Rough night." He glanced up, fork midway to his mouth, those wire-rimmed glasses slipping down his nose. "Haze. Yeah, dreams about my ex again. You." "Same old." I leaned in, voice low. "Listen, I need a favor. Off books. You still got that side hustle cracking open old Cold War ciphers?" His eyes narrowed, but there was a spark. Torres lived for the puzzle.
"Why?
You smuggling state secrets or something?" I forced a grin.
Worse.
"I'm auditing the auditors. Meet me in the fan room after lunch. Bring your toolkit." He hesitated, then nodded. "You're buying the tacos next port."
Deal.
The morning blurred into drills, general quarters, where we scrambled like rats in a maze, manning battle stations under the blare of the 1MC. I was at my console in CIC, fingers flying over threat boards that meant nothing yet. But my mind was elsewhere, mapping the players. Hargrove would arrive in Pearl, all pomp and polish. His XO, Commander Hale, the snake who'd fed me to the wolves, tall, blonde, with a southern drawl that hid a venomous streak. And then there was Lieutenant Voss, the comms OIC, who'd accidentally deleted my reports in the first run. By afternoon, Torres and I were knee-deep in the guts of the ventilation system, a forgotten corner of the ship where the air was thick and the noise drowned out whispers. He plugged in his laptop and I fed him the snapshot. "See this loop here? It's not a glitch. It's deliberate. Nested encryption, Mandarin characters buried in the metadata." Torres whistled low. "Holy shit, Lil. This is NSA-level black magic. Where'd you find it?" "Doesn't matter. Can you crack it without tripping alarms?" He chewed his lip, fingers dancing. "Give me 48 hours. But if this blows up..." "It won't. Not on you." I clapped his shoulder, the weight of my secret settling like lead. Trust was a gamble, but Torres was clean. In the old life, he died trying to avenge me. Car wreck, they said.
Accident.
Yeah, right. As we packed up, the ship-wide announcement crackled. "Now hear this. Admiral Hargrove's hello inbound tomorrow, 0900. All hands prepare for turnover." My blood ran cold.
Game on.
That night, in my rack, sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. Visions of the pier replayed, the shadows closing in, Hale's voice, "For the good of the service, Hayes," before the shot. I'd begged, offered to bury it. But no. Hargrove's empire of graft, millions in kickbacks for compromised intel, trumped one lowly tech's life. I clenched my fists under the thin blanket. This time, I'd expose it all. But how far would I go? Hack the Admiral's personal? Frame the innocent? The line between justice and vengeance blurred in the dark, and for the first time, I wondered if the ghost I'd become was any better than the monsters I hunted. Days bled into the op-tempo grind. Hawaii loomed like a siren's call. Beaches, my ties, a brief escape from the steel cage. But for me, it was ground zero. Hargrove's bird touched down on the flight deck amid the roar of rotors and saluting sailors, his frame cutting through the tropical haze like a shark fin. White uniform pristine, stars gleaming, he strode the deck with that predatory grace, Hale at his elbow, Voss trailing like a remora. I was on the periphery, part of the honor guard detail, standing at rigid attention in my summer whites. Sweat trickled down my spine, not from the heat, but the proximity. He passed within feet, that cologne, something expensive, like old money and lies, wafting over me. Our eyes met for a split second. He didn't know me yet, not as the threat. Just another faceless E3. At ease, sailors, he boomed, voice like gravel wrapped in velvet. Proud to serve with the best. Bullshit. I bit my tongue until it bled. The inspection was a circus. Walk throughs, briefings, ass-kissing in the wardroom. I volunteered for the tech support rotation, Kowalski grumbling but approving. Don't embarrass me, Hayes. In the SCF, I shadowed Voss as she demoed the comms array, Hargrove nodding sagely, Hale jotting notes on his iPad. That's when I saw it, the first thread to pull. During the SatLink test, the screen flickered, just for a heartbeat. That same loop, winking like a tell in poker. Hargrove's jaw tightened, imperceptible to most, but I'd studied his face in nightmares. He knew. Everything nominal. Admiral. Voss chirped, oblivious. Carry on, he replied, but his eyes flicked to Hale. A signal. Torres texted me later. Crack in progress. 70%. It's bad, Lil. Coordinates to offshore accounts. Beijing routing. My stomach twisted. Evidence but raw. I needed more, irrefutable, courtroom grade. That evening, port call in Honolulu, I slipped away from the Liberty Boat crowd. Waikiki was a neon blur of tourists and ukuleles, but I beelined for a dive bar off Kalakaua, the kind where sailors drown regrets. There, nursing a cheap rum and coke, I waited for my next play, an old contact from A School, Mia-chan, now a civilian contractor with access to DoD servers. She slid into the booth, all sharp bob haircut and sharper wit. Lillian Hayes, the prodigal geek. What's got you slumming it? Boy trouble.
Worse.
Navy trouble. I slid her a burner phone with the snapshot. Off the record. Can you trace the origin without bells going off? Mia's eyes scanned the screen, her face hardening. Jesus, Lil. This is felony territory. Why me? Because you're the only one I trust who isn't wearing the uniform anymore. And because in the old life, you'd been the one to tip off the feds, too late, after they pinned it on me as a whistleblower gone rogue. She pocketed the phone. 48 hours. And if this bites me, you're buying the therapy.
Deal.
Back aboard, the ship was electric with shore leave hangovers. I lay awake, plotting vectors. Expose Hargrove too soon, and I'd be the patsy again. Play it slow, and innocents like Torres could get caught in the crossfire. The decision nod. Leak to the press anonymously? Risk Black Ops retaliation? Or go nuclear? Confront him directly? Force a confession? A klaxon shattered the night. Man overboard. Chaos erupted, boots thundering past my rack. I joined the muster, heart pounding. Not me this time. But as we scanned the black waves from the hello deck, lit by searchlights, I couldn't shake the chill. This was just the opening act. Hargrove's game had begun, and I was the wild card he didn't see coming. Pearl Harbor faded astern like a half-remembered dream, the Independence plowing west toward the contested waters of the South China Sea. Tensions were ratcheting up, headlines blaring about island chains and freedom of navigation ops, and Hargrove's presence only amplified the stakes. He was here to assess readiness, but I knew the subtext. Cover for his digital heists, piping fleet movements to foreign buyers while we played at war games. Torres cornered me in the laundry during the afternoon watch, his face pale as fresh linen. Lil, you need to see this. He thrust a USB at me, glancing over his shoulder like we were in a spy flick. Full decrypt. It's not just code. It's a ledger. Hargrove's been skimming for years. Ghost accounts, shell companies in the Caymans. And get this, the backdoor's tied to a private yacht off Guam. Rendezvous point. I pocketed it. Pulse thundering. Who's the ghost? Hale? Voss.
Worse.
It's compartmentalized. But the sign-off? Hargrove's digital thumbprint, masked but there. He ran a hand through his buzz cut. This goes public, it's Watergate on steroids. You sure about this?
No.
But certainty was for the dead. We're ghosts already, Torres. Might as well haunt the right house. Mia's callback came at 0200, my burner buzzing under my pillow. Hayes, you owe me a kidney. Trace the patch to a subcontractor in Virginia, Blackstone Dynamics. CEO's a donor to Hargrove's PAC. And Lil? There's chatter. Feds sniffing around a whistleblower case from 21. Sound familiar? Too familiar. In the old timeline, that was me, smeared as unstable, my body dumped to silence the noise. Can you loop in a contact? Someone clean. Already did. Agent Ruiz, FBI Cyber. She's discreet. Meet in Subic Bay, off books. Subic. The Philippines port, a sailor's paradise of bars and bad decisions. Perfect for shadows. I hung up, the pieces slotting like a .50 cal round. But doubt crept in. What if Ruiz was compromised? Hargrove's tendrils reached far. I'd learned that the hard way. The next days were a pressure cooker. Flight ops ramped up, F-35s screaming off the deck like angry hornets, while below decks we sweated over maintenance logs. I pulled double shifts in comms, eyes on the monitors for any flicker of the breach. Voss noticed, pulling me aside after a brief. Hayes, you're jumpy. Everything copacetic. Her concern rang false, those green eyes too calculating. In the first life, she'd been the one to advise me to drop it, citing unit cohesion. Peachy, ma'am. I lied, saluting crisp. Just eager to impress the Admiral. She smirked. He impresses easy. Keep it tight. That night, I couldn't resist. Slipping into the captain's network. Risky as hell, but Torres had slipped me a rootkit. I pinged Hargrove's secure tablet.
Bait.
A ghost file, labeled Firmware Anomaly Report, with just enough redacted to hook him. The byte came at 0400. Access log. Hargrove, from his stateroom. He downloaded it, then scrubbed the trace. Amateur. I had the metadata now. Ironclad proof of tampering. But victory tasted sour. Hale cornered me the next morning in the passageway, his drawl dripping honeyed menace. Tech Hayes. Admiral says you're a rising star. Any extracurriculars I should know about? My mouth went dry, but I channeled every poker face I'd ever faked. Just doing my job, sir. Code's my jam. He leaned in, breath minty.
Good.
We like loyal sailors. Loose lip sync ships and careers. Message received. I saluted, spine steel, and bolted for the head to puke. Subic Bay hit like a fever dream. Humid air thick with diesel and desperation. The port crawling with Liberty hounds chasing skirts and shots. I ditched the group, hailing a jeepney to the outskirts, where Mia's contact waited in a nondescript cafe overlooking the bay. Agent Ruiz was mid-40s, no-nonsense Latina, with a FBI windbreaker under her jacket and eyes that could spot bullshit from orbit. Hayes, she said, no handshake, sliding into the booth. Chun vouches for you. What's the play? I handed over the USB. Admiral Hargrove's running a cyber black market. This is the key. But it's bigger. National security breach. I need protection, and I need it yesterday. She plugged it in, scanning on her laptop. Her face didn't change, but her knuckles whitened. This is dynamite. If true, it topples careers. Why you? Why now?
Truth or lie?
The hook in my gut twisted. I found something. Can't unsee it. And I've got nothing to lose. She eyed me, then nodded. We'll verify. But if you're playing me, kid, I'll bury you myself. As I left, the sun dipping into the sea like a spent cartridge, I felt the noose tightening. Hargrove would smell the rat soon. Sure enough, Back aboard, Kowalski hauled me into his office. Hayes, what did you do? Admiral's pissed. Says there's a glitch in the logs. Technical error, Chief. Fixing it now. Line number 50. But his doubt planted seeds. Paranoia was my ally and enemy. The op escalated. Unrep with a supply ship, tension thick as fog over the Spratlys. Chinese frigates shadowed us, radar pings like Morse code threats. In CIC, I manned the Elent console, ears tuned to the ether. That's when the breach activated, a subtle hijack, our drone feed rerouted. Hargrove was testing it, live, selling eyes on the fleet to Beijing. I froze, then acted. Isolated the node, buying minutes. Torres saw, whispering, "What the fuck, Lil?" Saving our asses, I hissed. But alarms blared, intrusion detected. Voss burst in. Hayes, step away. Too late. The captain's on deck, Hargrove briefed. They pinned it on a foreign probe, but his gaze lingered on me, a predator scenting blood. That night, alone in the wind-swept hello deck, I weighed the scales. Leak now, and the ship becomes a target. Sailors die in the crossfire. Wait, and Hargrove closes the net. The controversial call: sabotage the yacht rendezvous. Plant a tracker, force his hand. It meant hacking civilian waters, risking innocence. American? Hell yes. But dirty? Dirtier than sin. I greenlit it. Torres protested. This is vigilante shit. But he coded the beacon. As we steamed into the night, I stared at the stars, wondering if the woman I'd become was savior or monster. Guam materialized on the horizon, a volcanic speck in the Pacific blue. The Admiral's fact-finding tore was cover for the drop. His yacht, the Eagle's Shadow, anchored in Opera Harbor, waiting for a midnight handoff. I'd pulled strings, volunteered for shore duty, cited family emergency with a forged email. Kowalski bought it, grumbling about millennials. The harbor was a glittering trap, cruise ships dwarfing fishing boats, Navy P-8s droning overhead. I rented a kayak under a fake name, the kind of low-tech stealth that felt poetic. Paddling out under cover of dusk, the Eagle's Shadow loomed, sleek, 120 feet of teak and temptation, lights low, crew minimal. Torres' beacon was a micro-drone, golf ball-sized, launched from my pack. It hummed away, latching to the hull with a magnetic kiss. Live feed to my tablet. Engine room, empty. Bridge, Hargrove pacing with a sat phone. Hale, at the console. The transfer complete, Hale drawled. Beijing's wired the balance. Clean. Hargrove's laugh was ice. And the girl? Hayes? She's sniffing. My blood froze.
How?
Contained.
Voss fed her a decoy.
If she bites, we make it look like suicide. Loose ends, Eli. The feed cut, jamming. I paddled like hell, hardened my throat, but the kayak swamped in the chop. Salt water filled my lungs as I swam for shore, the decision crystallizing. No more half measures. Ruiz or bust. Back in my motel, dripping and defeated, I called her. Agent, it's Hayes. The yacht. Eagle's Shadow. Raid it now. Evidence is live. Static then. On it.
But Lil, stand down.
This is federal now. Too late. As sirens wailed in the distance, my door splintered. Hale's silhouette filled the frame, silenced pistol glinting. Told you, Hayes. Loyal sailors only. The shot rang out, but it wasn't mine. Not yet. Hale's finger tightened on the trigger, that southern smirk twisting like a knife in the gut. Time slowed. The muzzle flash a strobing accusation, the recoil jerking his arm. But I was already moving, the ghost of my first death-screaming dodge in my ear. I rolled left, the round splintering the doorframe in a shower of cheap plywood, and lunged for the lamp cord, yanking it free like a garrote. He laughed low and mean. Feisty. Admiral said you were smart. Too smart. I swung the cord, catching his wrist, the lamp crashing down on his boot. He howled, pistol clattering, and I scrambled for it, our hands clawing in a frenzy of grunts and curses. Hale was built like a linebacker, but desperation's a hell of a steroid. I kneed him square in the jewels, hearing the wheeze escape, and fired blind into the ceiling. Warning shot, or plea to whatever gods listened. Outside, chaos. Tires screeching, shouts in Tagalog and English. Ruiz's team? Or Hargrove's cleaners? Hale recovered, slamming a fist into my ribs, cracking something vital. For the service, he spat, echoing my nightmare. I headbutt him, stars exploding, and kicked the gun away. We grappled, tumbling over the bed, my mind a whirlwind of timelines. This was the controversial crux. Kill him here, raw vengeance, or restrain and let justice limp in. The old Lillian, the one who'd trusted the system, would have hesitated. But the reborn?
She saw red.
Sirens closed in. Hale pinned me, breath hot on my face. You'll rot in Leavenworth, traitor. The door burst again, FBI vests and barrels. Federal agents. Down. Hale froze, then bolted for the window, crashing through glass like a bull. Shots cracked, but he vanished into the night, a shadow swallowed by palms. Ruiz hauled me up, her grip iron.
Jesus, Hayes.
You trying to get yourself killed? Twice over, I gasped, coughing blood. The yacht. It's all there. She nodded to her team. We hit it 5 mics ago. Hargrove's in cuffs. The raid was surgical. Black SUVs storming the dock, agents swarming the Eagle's shadow. Hargrove, mid-handshake with a suited ghost, Chinese attaché, went down cursing, stars no shield against zip ties. Laptops seized, drives imaged, the ledger spilling like guts. Offshore wires to the tune of $27 million, cyber blueprints that could have flipped the Pacific balance. Back stateside, the fallout was biblical. Norfolk buzzed like a kicked hive. Leaks to CNN, Senate hearings teed up, Hargrove's face plastered on every feed. That Ivy smile cracked. I was sequestered in a safe house outside D.C., Ruiz grilling me over bad coffee. Start talking, Hayes. How did Junior Tech uncover this? I spun the yarn careful. Routine diagram, anomaly flagged, off-books dig with consultants. Omitted the death, the do-over. Torres was safe, reassigned to Pendleton with a commendation. Mia got a quiet bonus. Voss, singing like a canary for immunity, fingering Hale as the bagman. But crack showed. Nightmares bled into days. The pier, the bullet, Hargrove's eyes promising hell. And whispers. Hargrove's lawyers claiming entrapment, painting me as the unstable hack. Whistleblower with a grudge. They sneered on Fox. The hearing loomed, a circus of suits and spotlights. I prepped with Ruiz, scripting answers that danced the line. Controversial? Understatement. Testifying meant exposing not just graft, but my vigilante hacks, the drone, the rootkit. Felonies if they spun it right. But silence? That was complicity, letting the machine chew up the next haze. Capitol Hill was marble and malice, the committee room a pressure chamber. Senators postured, hawkish Graham demanding blood, dovish Warren probing ethics. Hargrove sat cuffed but composed, his gaze locking mine across the dais, a promise of unfinished business. Ms. Hayes, the chair intoned, your actions saved assets worth billions. Yet you bypassed protocol. Why? I leaned into the mic, voice steady as a carrier deck. Because protocol was the problem, sir. Admiral Hargrove weaponized it, betrayed his oath for you on. I did what sailors do. Protect the ship, even from the bridge. Murmurs rippled. Hargrove's counsel objected, slander. But the ledger spoke louder, projections flickering with damning transfers. Then the twist. Hale, extradited from Manila, took the stand. Broken, bandaged, he cracked wide. It wasn't just Hargrove, he rasped, eyes hollow. The code. It started higher. Joint Chiefs briefing last year. Hargrove was the front, but the architect? Secretary Vance. The room detonated. Vance, Defense Secretary, political darling, architect of the pivot to Asia. My jaw dropped. In the old life, he'd eulogized me as a tragic loss.
Complicit?
Mastermind? Cameras flashed. Senators bellowed for order. Ruiz pulled me aside in recess. This changes everything. Vance has got pull, deep state shit. I nodded. The board reshuffled. My revenge, aimed at one head, had severed the Hydra's neck. But Vance? That was apocalypse. The days blurred into leaks and lockdowns. Hargrove folded, plea deal for names, contractors, aides, a rogue NSA analyst. But Vance stonewalled, invoking executive privilege, his PR machine churning deepfake conspiracies. Protests erupted outside the Pentagon. Vets chanting, "Lock him up," counter-rallies waving, "Drain the swamp" signs flipped on their head. I went underground. Ruiz's network a lifeline. Torres called. "Lil, it's viral. You're a hero on TikTok. Hayes redemption trending." Hero. The word chafed. I'd hacked, lied, nearly murdered. The controversy peaked in op-eds. Whistleblower or wrecking ball? I drowned it in bourbon, the safe house a cage. Then the call. Vance's fixer, anonymous. Meet at the Lincoln Memorial, midnight. Or your boy Torres eats pavement.
Bait. But Torres was family now.
I went armed, backup piece from Ruiz. Midnight tolling like a dirge. The mall was spectral, monuments looming ghosts. Vance waited alone, or so it seemed, silver fox in a trench, face etched with cornered rat cunning. Hayes. You should have stayed buried. Chills.
How? He smirked.
I make it my business to know graves. Hargrove was sloppy. You? A glitch. The pieces snapped. My death wasn't random. Vance had greenlit it, testing loyalties. The code? His baby. A honeypot to lure rivals, but it bloomed into greed. You betrayed us all, I said, hand inching to the Glock. Us.
He laughed.
The Navy's a machine, kid. I oiled it. You rusted the gears. Snipers? No, his arrogance was solo. I drew, but he lunged, disarming me in a blur of Krav Maga. We fought under honest Abe's gaze, fists and fury, until Ruiz's team swarmed, tip-off for my tracer. Vance went down sputtering, the Hydra headless at last. The trials were a meat grinder, chewing through DC's underbelly like a storm surge. Vance's arraignment made front pages, SEC def in chains, with mugshots that humanized the monster, bags under eyes, suit rumpled. Hargrove flipped fully, testifying in an orange jumpsuit, his ivy polish peeled to reveal the rot. Vance recruited me, he admitted, voice cracking. Said it was strategic ambiguity. Billions later, I believed him. I watched from the gallery, anonymous in witness protection drag, dyed hair, contacts, and nameplate reading, Elena Ruiz. No, not her. Elena Torres, a nod to the friend who'd believed first. The evidence avalanche buried them. Server logs, wire transfers, even a panic-shredded memo from Vance's safe, recovered by forensics wizards. But justice? It limped. Plea deals proliferated. Hail to 20 years. Voss community service with a gag order. Vance lawyered up with the best, stalling with motions, his allies in Congress filibustering oversight bills. The controversy raged, cable news panels debating, was Hayes a patriot or pirate? Protests swelled, Marines in dress blues outside the White House, demanding purity, counterdemos accusing me of McCarthyism 2.0. Ruiz pulled strings, fast-tracking my immunity hearing. You're cleanish, she said over encrypted line. Hacks were necessary exigency. Play the hero card. Hero. Still chafed. I'd cross lines, sabotage that could have sunk civilian boats, a near kill that haunted my sleep. Torres visited once, in a Virginia diner off I-95, his new gig at Cybercom suiting him. You did it, Lil. The breach is patched fleet-wide. No more ghosts in the machine. I hugged him fierce. The almost lost a scar. We did it. But at what cost? He pulled back, eyes serious. The cost of doing nothing. That's what killed you before. Before. The word hung, a chasm. I couldn't tell him the truth. The bullet, the void, the improbable rewind. Some secrets die with you. Or resurrect. The climax unfolded not in court, but shadows. A leak, Vance's doing, Outed my location. Whistleblower holed up in Arlington. Threats flooded. Dead cats on stoops. Slashed tires. A brick through the window etched traitor. Ruiz moved me hourly, but paranoia was my shadow. Then the twist that gutted me. A package at the safe house drop, unmarked. Inside, a thumb drive and note. You think it's over?
Watch.
The drive held footage, grainy, time-stamped 3 years back. My first death, from Hale's body cam. The pier, rain-slicked, me on my knees begging. Please, it's bigger than us.
His shot, point blank.
Then, post-mortem. Vance's voice, off-screen. Burn it. And the body, make it look like a jumper. But the real knife, a second clip, pre-death. Me, in a Norfolk bar, drunk off my ass after a bad eval, spilling to a sympathetic stranger, Voss, undercover. The code. It's dirty. I can prove it. She'd played me from jump, feeding intel up the chain. My discovery wasn't fate, it was bait. Vance had targeted me months prior, a low-rank loose cannon to test the waters. Rage boiled, white-hot. I'd been a pawn in their game, my death a calculated cull. The resurrection? Cosmic joke or mercy? No time for philosophy. I called Ruiz. Vance has got a mole. In your office. Panic stations. Turns out, her deputy, eager beaver from Langley, fed scraps for a promotion. Purged but damage done. Vance's trial date loomed, but whispers of a suicide watch. Accident in transit. I couldn't wait. Controversial to the core. I'd end it personally. Not murder, exposure. Hacked his prison comms, planted a virus to broadcast his next bribe call live. Risky, BOP firewalls like Fort Knox, but Torres ghosted me a exploit. Midnight, cell block feed. Vance, pacing, phone to ear. Double the offer. Get me to the Caymans. Static, then my overlay. Admiral Hargrove sends regards. The stream hit WikiLeaks. X, every dark web hole. By dawn, it was global, Vance down trending, POTUS forced to commute. No. The House impeached the ghost of his administration. Vance cracked an interrogation, spilling a decade of dirt. Arms deals with cartels, election meddling via hacks. The Navy reformed, oversight boards, code audits mandatory. I was exonerated, medals pinned posthumously in a quiet ceremony, my old self-honored. But happy ending? Bittersweet as black coffee. I retired honorably. E5 bump for meritorious service. Settling in Seattle, rain mirroring Norfolk's endless gray. A tech firm gig, consulting on cyber ethics, but the nightmares lingered. Bullets, betrayals, the void's whisper. Torres married a cryptographer, sent baby pics. Mia launched a podcast, Code Breakers, dedicating an EP to the ghost who wouldn't stay down.
Ruiz?
Promoted, but we drifted too many shadows. One night, walking Puget Sound, waves lapping like accusations, I paused at a bench etched with sailor graffiti. Semper Fi, but fuck the brass. I laughed, bitter. The revenge? Cathartic but hollow. I'd saved the fleet, toppled titans, but lost the girl who trusted blindly. Reborn, yes, but scarred eternal. Was it worth it? In the quiet, staring at stars that once guided ships to war, I whispered to the dark. Damn right. The code was broken, the betrayal avenged. And for a tech from nowhere, that was legacy enough. Yet, as fog rolled in, a final echo. What if the void called again? Another glitch, another chance? I'd answer. Because some ghosts don't fade, they fight.